Welcome, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for joining me on my journey. I was inspired by a book that I just finished just a beginning of the week, and I thought about this uh, long and hard of where I wanted to go with it. And having read Planet of Diamonds by J Dalton, I wanted to continue the journey, and I did, and I'm so thrilled that I did read The Dead Ship, again by J Dalton. And here we find Krieg, who we met in Planet of the Diamonds. You do not need to read that, it is a standalone, but I strongly urge you to do so, especially since all of the royalties that J Dalton gets from the sale of the books, including autographed ones if you're interested, go to charity, and I applaud him for that, paying it forward. Absolutely fantastic. At any rate, we met Krieg, who is this giant alien that, is taken in, befriended by um, Amanda, and then Patrick and Jessica. So it's the four of them, and they're on Vegas 2 and or August 2. And what happens is a giant floating dead body hits the ship, and they're kind of like, "What's going on here?" In any case, they trace or follow the path that this dead body probably came from, and there they discover this ship that's just floating about. They enter it through this massive gaping hole in its hull, the Defender, which actually had been translated from a writing they had seen from Sanskrit, which actually meant home of the Defender. They just labeled it the Defender, and here they find these giant, larger than Krieg is, um, dead, sleeping in their bunks, their beds, or on chairs and what have you, and it leads them to wonder how this could have happened. And from there, we're taken on a fantastic journey through the galaxy and wormholes and the like. It's kind of like I'm trying to really do this book justice, because it just blew me away with the amount of detail and depth and the knowledge that it takes to write such a sci-fi sort of book. And it's like Star Wars, Star Trek, Lost in Space combined into one. We're talking about quantum physics and traveling in space, and molecular biology, I think, is thrown in there. There's a lot going on here. And so I wanted to sort of capture that on my canvas. So I'm using a 12 by 24 gallery deep canvas, and I primed it with black paint just to kind of give it, hopefully not to give it, but to cover up the sides as best I could, and perhaps the paint will flow a little bit better here. And not to change the dynamics of the canvas, but I did want to have that as my background and not change or mute or muddy the colors too badly. So let's hope it works out. I'm attempting to do 4 ring pours, and then hopefully combine them. And I may or may not use the marble. I haven't quite decided yet. I did, truth be told, make a few attempts in doing this to see where I wanted to go with it. And so I'm going to attempt this. So what I did is I've actually um, already poured 4 cups of the paints that I wanted to use. And here I'm using a Deco Art Metallic Gold, which I mixed with just water because I didn't want the color to become muted at all. So Deco Art Metallic gold is in here. I also used a Deco Art satin enamel in a garnet, and I did use a little bit of Liquitex, and again adding water because Flutrol tends to make it lighter and muted in color, and I did not want that to happen here. So Deco Art garnet color, and I'm using a Nick Pro metallic black, as well as a white or metallic white pearl by Deco Art. It's bright, and I'm hoping that that brings it to life here as well. There may be some cells and some boulders and or clouds here, and I like that idea because we are traveling through space with Krieg and Amanda and Patrick and Jessica. And Krieg is my favorite character in the book. He's just so endearing, and he talks about his emotions as having the feels. And he is an alien, so he thinks he's not as smart as everyone else, but he really, really is and has some really great intuition. So we get to meet in the dead ship a bevy of characters, and some are human like in form, and some are a combination of animals and human features to that. So again, we're meeting the dreaded nemesis in the dead ship, and I'll leave you to explore that and discover. Do pick up the dead ship, do pick up the Planet of Diamonds. He also has a few others out there that you may definitely want to grab up. J Dalton's works. As I said, all of his royalties go to charity, so it's very unique, and just applaud him once again. So what I want to do is put down the four ring pours and then combine them, structure them, and we'll see where it goes. So let's get busy. All right, I'm going to torch out some bubbles. I use the same colors because I really believe that have a lot more in common than those things that separate us. And I find that with Krieg and Amanda and Patrick and Jessica, that they have a common mission, a common goal, a common purpose, but what unites them, their friendship, their loyalties, and all of that I wanted to include here. So each one representing each of those four characters, the same but different. And again, I use the same exact paints, in pouring or in layering them out in my cups. They might be a little tad off in terms of how much, because a drop even makes a difference. And you'll find that in each of these ring pours here. So I want to torch out some bubbles, and I will be adding some black around the perimeter or around the outer part of these circles. Love the depth of the inner part of the circles, just draw you in, almost like those wormholes. in The Dead Ship by J Dalton, where things expand and shrink based upon their place in the universe. I want to just torch out a few more. There are some boulders and clouds that are forming, even though the clouds are not white, they are capturing that garnet, and some of that gold is uh, encircling them, or just haphazardly kind of forming this beautiful, beautiful effect. And I love the feathering and the fingerlings that is going on here. I do think I will probably lose some of this, but I want to add some black and perhaps take it on a spin or two just to see what happens. I don't want to go too fast with the spin because, as I said, I'm trying to um, maintain as much of this composition as possible, but yet I do want um, just a different dimension or a different layer to this piece. And I'm glad that I prepared the canvas with the black. So if it's not going to flow over, I'm not too concerned because it's already been primed, painted. Trying to decide if I want to separate this with the black or if I want to just keep them connected. And since this quad, these champions, these travelers, explorers are connected, perhaps I won't put in the black, but I do need to torch out some more bubbles. Just going to spread the black paint. I don't want to put too much on the canvas, even though I know a lot of it will be absorbed. But since I primed it, it probably won't be as much as if I had not primed the canvas. I'm hoping it works out. Just trying to think a little bit out of the box. Take it for a spin, a gentle spin, just to see what happens here. I fear some of this will probably spin off, but perhaps if I go gentle, it won't be totally deconstructed. And let's go. other direction just to see if I can get it to move more to the other side. Part of, or two of those ring pores are becoming a little bit more elongated, where the other two seem more like nucleus, and that's okay. I'm fine with that because, again, the colors are that unifying factor in the composition, and then each, like our characters, keeping that individuality, as you see in the book The Dead Ship by J Dalton. I do want to continue spinning it a little bit more. I think I want to tilt a little bit toward you so you can see what's going on. I don't want to lose any or too much of this, but stretching it out a little bit more, just trying to expand some of that garnet and reveal some of that gold that is hidden there. Love the feathering that is going on here. The fingerlings are real pretty. Do need to add a little bit more black here. Just trying to touch up my canvas before I spin it, because there are areas where it's kind of faded, and rather than go in later and touch it up, I think I want to do that now. Sides are really pretty. Again, just adding a little bit more to get it to flow. I would love to have a little bit of that negative space, like our galaxy and our travelers in that galaxy. Many galaxies, many reasons to explore. Alright, I do want to spin it some more. Trying to see where the weight of my paint is, because there is a lot of paint in certain areas, and I don't want it to craze. I'm not going for that look here. I do that sometimes. I put extra paint on depending on the effect that I'm going for in my compositions, but I do not want that here. I think I want to come the other way. You can see what's going on. Sides are real pretty. Okay, I want to take it for another spin. Let's see if we could expand a little bit more. direction. There's a lot of paint in that corner, so I'm going to just tilt it some more. It's better. Spin. It's interesting because it started off as that black and white and gold and garnet, and now when it combines and interplays with the colors on the canvas, or the colors come together in those lines, that linear effect, it now has some green tinge to it, some gray. Here there's green and just a tinge of blue, and I didn't put any blue in it, and some gray and the green, and the gold is combining really, really well. And so here we have our 4 characters. Now, I started off and they were all alike but different in that ring pour. We're using those same exact colors for each one, and the colors when they poured out were a little bit different, and yet there's a continuity in the composition where we have all the fingerlings and we have all the linear effects here and again in here. So we have Amanda and we have Krieg, we have Patrick and we have Jessica, and so we can see the connectivity among those 4 characters, just as you would see or do see in a brilliant sci-fi book by J Dalton, The Dead Ship. Do grab it up. Strongly, strongly recommended. I hope you enjoyed today's session. Thank you so, so much for joining me. Let me take you in for a close-up of our galaxy, searching out the Defender and what's going on once we board that ship. And you can see the beauty of each character. Beautiful fingerlings and cloudy, whimsical, feathery effects almost, like a flight, feathery, wispy. A lot more garnet than I thought, but overall, I like it. Let me know what you think. Be good to one another and yourselves.